Hello and welcome to another episode of Scott Reads Comics. Today I'd like to cover Fantastic Four, issue number 240, published in 1982 by Marvel Comics. This is one of those comics, I call them seminal issues for me personally, because it's one of the first comics I came in contact with as an 11, 12-year-old kid back in the 80s. And it's a John Byrne production. He's now 8 issues deep into his run on Fantastic Four, and he's really starting to assert himself. We have a gorgeous cover here, Exodus, starring the incomparable Inhumans, plus the return of Medusa and the birth of Quicksilver and Crystal's child. So we got a great Byrne Austin cover here, and I love the corner piece on this issue. Byrne did this for a little while. We would see the three of the floating heads of the FF, and then the fourth member would be a full figure. And this is a gorgeous corner piece featuring the Thing in his sort of transformed form back toward his original form, when once again Reed tried to cure the Thing in a recent previous issue and failed. So now we have a lumpy Thing versus a rocky Thing, and that's going to play a big part in the opening couple of pages here. I got this book when I was a kid. I said, again, I was probably 12 years old, in a pack in a grocery store or a drugstore or some kind of five and dime store of coverless comics in a plastic bag being resold. And so this was, I didn't get to see this cover. This was the first thing I saw, this incredible splash page featuring Quicksilver with this just gorgeous John Byrne artwork, just amazing. So John Byrne, words and pictures, Jim Novak letters, Glynis Wing, colorist, Jim Salkrop, editor, Jim Shooter, editor-in-chief, and again, our title, as the cover suggested, is Exodus. So we have Quicksilver rushing, obviously with a huge sense of urgency. A week ago, he left the fabled Hidden Land, deep in the most remote Himalayas. In that time, he has hardly paused, pushing himself relentlessly past his physical and mental limits, through ice and snow and terrains which would surely have killed a lesser man. Through the grimy, snow-slick streets of Manhattan, he runs, oblivious to the startled pedestrians, heedless of bustling traffic, which to him seems poised, motionless, as if time itself has halted. Suddenly, he sees it. The pain and anguish of 20,000 miles sluices from him. His goal is almost achieved. Slackening his pace, not the slightest, he lances up the sheer face of the far-famed Baxter Building. And one with eyes sharp enough to mark his journey might for a moment wonder if the law of gravity itself had been repealed. Great shot here of Pietro using his super speed to basically rush up a vertical surface, something he's done many times in the past. Again, he's no Flash. He can only run 175 miles an hour according to the official handbook of the Marvel Universe, which I think he does get upgraded at some point. So now we have the Thing. I give up. If Franklin finds his Christmas presents after I've stashed them up here, I'm going to let him keep them. It just gets harder and harder to hide stuff from that kid. It's almost like he knows what I'm thinking. And so this is awesome. The two, Pietro swathed in shadow, and now unfamiliar Thing facing Pietro, dropping the presents. For a moment, these sole occupants of the vast top floor hangar deck stand as if transfixed. With astonishing speed, Ben Grimm's mind scans his recollections of known foes, trying to place this shadow-shrouded intruder, while the silver-haired speedster allows himself a moment of shock at the sight of this orange-skinned monster. And then they go into action. Totally great, although here, as Quicksilver careens off the Thing rips free this giant piece of machinery and just barely misses him. But fast as he is, the Thing moves as slowly as if mired in molasses to the eyes of his adversary. Of course, if he would have connected with that, he probably could have really hurt Quicksilver, or maybe even killed him. And this is the point in the FF's continuity where we have Frankie Ray, a basically essentially female version of the Human Torch and Johnny's current love interest, is kind of an unofficial fifth member of the team or a member in training. And Frankie and the Torch realize there's an intruder, and Frankie, in her zeal, almost burns Quicksilver to death. Frankie, for heaven's sake, you could have killed him. So, he's one of the bad guys, isn't he? Johnny Storm feels a cold fist close about his heart at Frankie Ray's words. But he has no time to ponder their implications. This is a setup. Byrne is such a builder in terms of storylines and characters. We're going to see this sort of callousness pay off later on in Frankie Ray as she embraces her ultimate destiny as the future Galactus' herald, Nova. Meanwhile, they're still trying to corral Quicksilver. Invisible Woman almost has him run straight into the force field, which would have seriously hurt him, but luckily cooler heads prevail and Reed Richards. Sue, no! The elastic body of Mr. Fantastic shapes itself into a cushion before the invisible force field. Now, will you all please calm down before someone gets hurt? Our automatic defense system has already identified our intruder as a non-hostile. So finally, at normal speed, he's revealed as Quicksilver. And we get our flashback to the Thing. I love this shot here that Byrne provides of the original Thing in his rocky form and then the lumpy form right next to him. And we get basically in an account from Pietro why he's here. There's a the Enclave is waging war on the Fantastic Four, or on the Inhumans in their hidden enclave in the Himalayas. And they're being aided by Maximus the Mad, an Inhuman who has always been a villain. And it's also revealed that Crystal is pregnant and very ill. When I left the Hidden Land a week ago, over 50 of the Inhumans were dead of the plague. I alone of all in Attilan was unaffected, perhaps because I am a mutant, not an Inhuman. Yes, I've neglected to mention that in addition to the attack of the Enclave, there's some kind of plague going on that may or may not be related to their attack. And, of course, Johnny Storm is upset because he has a previous love interest with Crystal. You idiot. If the Inhumans are in trouble, why did you come on foot? You could have been here in an instant with Lockjaw's teleporting power. Unhand me, human. Crystal's loyal pet would not leave her side until sure you would come to our aid. That goes without saying, Quicksilver. The Inhumans are our friends. We would never turn our backs on them. Then is the signal sent. Love this little gadget he has here. And should we arrive too late, blame my own distrust of ever-treacherous Homo sapiens. So Quicksilver manages to be a jerk in just about every story he's in, and it's no different here. Lockjaw shows up, the amazing giant canine Inhuman with vast teleportation powers, and he takes the FF and Quicksilver back. They leave Frankie Ray because she's still a trainee, and checks in on Franklin here, and we can see Herbie the Robot in this little sequence here, not yet destroyed. We'll get to that in a later issue. And so Frankie's just kind of hanging out. Meanwhile, and a world away, look at this establishing panel, just totally great as the FF arrive in Attilan. Totally great. Byrne's such a good world builder. I've talked about it before. He can draw anything. So they arrive, and they think they're too late, but Medusa and the Inhuman royal family member Gorgon greet them and tell them that the war with the Enclave is over, and Maximus the Mad turned against the Enclave to help the Inhumans in the end and died for his trouble. I shall join you later, my friends. I must now see to my wife, Quicksilver says. Through the sepulchral halls, the Fantastic Four follow their Inhuman friends until... A moment, Black Bolt's power crackles about him. We must bide a while until he is ready to greet us. So Black Bolt is somehow using his power. He's an immensely powerful, the most powerful Inhuman, immensely powerful character in the Marvel Universe, to kind of augment the resistance of the entire Inhuman population to this plague, which is still ravaging them, even though now the war is over with the Enclave. They've got this plague to deal with. And here he collapses for his efforts. No, do not tell me he is dead. I shall not hear it. No, Medusa, he's not dead. Not yet, but he is totally drained. It's incredible. He's obviously been using his own energy to maintain the life force of all the Inhumans. So they're going to take Black Bolt to get him some care. Meanwhile, Reed Richards goes to work and develops a temporary antidote. And he determines that, indeed, the plague ravaging the Inhumans is unrelated to the Enclave's attack. It's a separate menace, and it's from the pollution now pervading the entire sphere of Earth. And there's no way they can escape it anywhere on Earth because, of course, Earth's atmosphere is everywhere. Then the solution is obvious, Reed Richards. The great refuge must be moved to some other place where the air is fresh and clean. I'm afraid you're missing the point, Karnak. There's nowhere to go, even were such a move possible. But it is possible, Reed. This Himalayan valley is not the original location of the Attilan city, has been moved before. You're kidding. No, Ben Grimm. Years ago, fearing discovery by the outside world, Black Bolt arranged for the island of Attilan to be relocated here in Tibet. It was a colossal feat, but it was accomplished. So that gives Reed Richards an idea, and this is an incredible panel here. Again, Byrne's pencils and inks in this early stage of his FF run are so tight and solid and really just picked right up where he left off from X-Men. And you can see the moon in the background, and that's going to be part of the solution here. So they spend some feverish hours working at various ways to convert the power generators of Attilan into anti-gravity generators. Now, this is a great little panel here showcasing the thing, which I love. While Susan Richards assists former astronaut Ben Grimm in the charting of a new, unbelievable course, the thing takes quickly to the job. It has been too long since he was called upon to use his mind rather than his muscle. Just a great panel, and it just gives you a sense that Byrne knows these characters and gives them ways to shine throughout these stories in his long run that are sometimes unexpected and very welcomed. This is a great sequence here with Karnak and Gorgon. They have to dislodge the foundation of the city of Attilan from its current position in the crust here of the mountains in the Himalayas. So Karnak gets it started, but with unfortunately minimal effect. A worthy try, my friend, but for some tasks only brute force is sufficient, brute force such as Gorgon commands. Then strike there, cousin. Let your thunderous hoof complete what I have begun. So two great characters, love them. And meanwhile, we have an awesome sequence here with Black Bolt going into the subterranean chambers and basically telling the Alpha Primitives that they have to go topside in order to safely travel with the Inhumans to their new home on the blue area of the moon. They were once a slave race. The Inhumans freed them, and they didn't do well initially upon being freed, so it's kind of a fraught situation. But here, Black Bolt does right by them by getting them all to leave and go into the city proper so that they can safely travel to the moon as well. It's unclear from the story if they were also affected by the plague, but I would think they would be. This is a great sequence. Black Bolt listens as the murmur of their passing fades. Silence rolls heavily across him. He listens, hearing the thump of his own heartbeat grow loud in the darkness. He counts 998, 999, 1,000 pulses. All should be in readiness above. And then Black Bolt speaks. The voice of Black Bolt is the most powerful sonic weapon in the Marvel Universe. And here he uses it to dislodge an entire city. Great editor's note here from John Byrne, creator, and Jim Salcorp, editor. We're not going to insult your intelligence by placing a sound effect in this panel. Believe us, no mere words could convey the awesome noise of Black Bolt's single syllable. And this is curious here because this could play forward into another storyline that I've already talked about on this channel, and I'm going to revisit here when I'm through with this issue. And deep within that now empty hollow, Black Bolt surveys the former home of his people. As he stands in once more characteristic silence, the hiss of escaping natural gas catches his ear. He seems for a moment to pause in contemplation. Then, straight and true as a laser, the electron stream flashes from his antennae, gouging the rock vent below. 7 swift, sure strokes, and then Black Bolt spreads his glider wings and rises after Attilan. At last, blast of energy ignites the gas. The flame thus created will burn for 1,000 years or more, and on the rock, beneath it, a single word of the graceful script of his alien Kree forefathers, Maximus. So it's a final tribute to Maximus, the Inhuman who gave his life to defeat the Enclave. Black Bolt rejoins the FF on Attilan, and now the giant floating city escapes orbit. It does not escape the notice of S.H.I.E.L.D., and that's going to play forward into the Marvel Universe continuity later. And they arrive at the moon. And as Attilan glides across the barren lunar plains, the Inhumans quickly learn the reason for this unusual pastel hue. Look, it's air. The whole crater is filled with atmosphere. Yes, generated somewhere deep within the ruins of that long-dead city below us. Some distance away, the unheeding of the harsh, airless environment of the moon's surface, strange eyes observe Attilan's progress. He is Uatu, called the Watcher, and for countless centuries, he has dwelt alone here in the blue area. Now he will have neighbors. And I love this callback here. Like the footfall of some unimaginable giant flying city, the giant flying city comes thunderously to rest, crumbling into the dust, brittle ruins beneath it, and burying for all time the fateful spot upon which a young woman from Earth once died to save a universe. See X-Men 137. Let the philosophers ponder the suitability of Attilan for her tombstone. The great refuge has landed. So pretty awesome. I don't know if Byrne calling back to X-Men 137 is kind of an homage or a reverential callback, or maybe sticking it a little bit to Jim Shooter, who made them change the story to make Jean Grey die. Who knows? But now we have a final full page here, which is pretty great. Actually, not the final page, but it's the second to last page. There was a long silence, broken only here and there by the distant crunch of stone shifting under the press of the city. Then slowly at first a murmur rises, a short burble of voices that grows steadily stronger as from every doorway in vast Attilan flows a flood of life. The Inhumans come forth to greet their new world. Great sequence with the FF and all the variety of the Inhuman form here. And of course, we have a great Hostess ad. See my earlier video with an unofficial collection of the Marvel Hostess ads, but this one was definitely in there. And now our last page, we have the revelation of the birth of Luna, the first child born on the moon. And oddly, because of her mix of Inhuman and mutant genes, a perfectly, completely normal human. So pretty interesting there. A fun ending, an uplifting ending. And then we have letters page. Nothing really remarkable here. I took a look through it before recording, so nothing I'm going to linger on. But yeah, oh, I love this D&D ad by Bill Willingham. So great. And these are the ads. They worked on me. They made me want to seek out and play D&D and MERP and other early fantasy RPGs. So I love these. I wish someone would collect all these in a collection that we could buy. A couple of closing remarks on this. It's not the most action-packed issue of Fantastic Four in Byrne's run. There's a lot more important, I guess you could argue, or eventful issues than this one. But I think it's my favorite, and maybe it's my favorite because it's the first one that I ever read in Byrne's run. But it's packed with really cool stuff. It's of course the birth of Luna, which we just touched on, the movement of Attilan to the blue area of the moon is a huge continuity shift in Marvel Comics. The Inhumans are now no longer on Earth; they're on the moon. That hint about the development of Frankie Ray, little hints about Franklin's psychic ability, Franklin Richards' psychic ability mentioned here by the Thing. The Thing's acceptance of his new lumpy form and how he's become more accepting of being the Thing overall. These are all kind of neat aspects of this story that I really love. And a couple of things I wanted to go over. Now, I hinted at how this story is picked up in Avengers Annual number 12, which I covered on my show, almost a full reading of this double-sized book. It's a longer episode, but it's great, and it's got incredible Jackson Guice artwork. If you haven't seen that episode, check it out. But the story in here follows directly in a year later with this story here, written by Roger Stern and art by Jackson Guice and Rick Magyar. Just a really cool. And then another not quite directly related story, but a great Inhumans in Attilan on the Moon story is Fantastic Four Annual number 18. And I'm going to cover this on the show at some point, but this also touches on X-Men 137 as well. So, and it's got great Mark Bright artwork and Mike Gustovich inks. So this is definitely one I want to cover. But if you're gonna read FF 240, I think it would be fun to read Avengers Annual 12 and FF Annual 18 as well in succession, because they're just fun, sort of interrelated stories. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I'll bring you more soon on Scott Reads Comics. Thanks for watching.